Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What's going on, Chip? What's going on, everybody in the On the Chain community? We've got a packed show for you guys today. XRP making massive moves. You heard that. $200 million in real-world assets coming on chain somewhere down in Latin America. We'll get into that. And Ripple continuing to expand deep and deeper into Asia. A new accelerator over there in Singapore, RLUSD, going parabolic. That's right, parabolic. Maybe it's going to be the one and only. Is it going to replace every other stable coin? It's doing away with XRP as far as Ripple's concerned in terms of their needs and financial institution need, but we're going to dig more into that, and we're going to keep digging into that. Meanwhile, there's drama in the XRP community as one of Ripple's own jumped ship to go to the XRP cafe, something like that. We got to get into that, but there's more. Chip, there's always more, because on the political front, guess what happened yesterday? Trump signed the big, beautiful bill. That's right. It was big, it was beautiful, it was bold, and the Democrats are crying. Lots of tears, Chip.
That's awesome.
SCOTUS with some big major wins. So, Chip, what I recommend is that everybody grabs their Badass Yeti coffee, gets ready, get your XRP bags stacked in the corner, because we're going in. We're going to dive into the shallow end head first.
I think we need a let's go.
For
Let's
maximum
go.
impact.
Let's go.
Let's go.
It's very short open, quick show. Both of us have to get out of here on time today, so we're going to make the best of it. Guys, drop where you're coming in from. Where are you coming in from the world? The purple ferret. The purple ferret is back. I didn't know you left. Calpin Lake. There you go. Hello, all from Calpin Lake. Good morning. Zobra's in there, Joe. Boycotting. Impossible. You cannot boycott. That is not possible, man. That is not possible, man. No can do.
No can do.
No can do. I can't go for that.
No can happen.
No can do.
No can happen.
I can't go for that. Oh, whoa, whoa. All right, let's start off with this story. This is interesting. We've got this is Eric van Mittenberg. He is the otherwise known as the EVM SVP of the strategic initiatives over there at Ripple. We'll start off with this one here. And he basically said that he was, there's not a lot of, like 4 reposts and 15 likes. It's not a lot. I don't think anybody knows who this guy is. I have him on my Ripple. I set up a special thing on X for a list for all the Ripplers, and I go through it. So he was in there, he said he enjoyed sitting down with Blockhead's Blockcast, which is their podcast, what they call it, Blockhead, to discuss Ripple's evolution from cross-border payments to enterprise infrastructure. We covered mergers and acquisitions, growth opportunities, how we're building real-world utility across finance, and here it is right here. Blockcast 68. This was the podcast, latest episode report from Apex 2025 in Singapore. And in this episode, they talked about host Takasoshi Shibayama interviews Eric van Mittenberg. They explored similarities between the internet boom and the current blockchain landscape. We've never talked about that, Jeff. That's something new. Never ever made that comparison, nor has anyone else. Just saying. The importance of regulatory clarity. That's what the show's pretty much what the On the Chain's all about. And saying, Jeff and I have been saying for years that nothing else matters except legislation. The Ripple case doesn't matter and never has. When XRP was deemed not a security back on July 13th, which is coming up on 2 years, 2023, that was it. It was over. People will still think there's something going on with Ripple. It means nothing to the community, means nothing to the digital asset called XRP. The only thing that matters is this right here, regulatory clarity. And then the next 2 weeks after the big, beautiful bill has been passed, Jeff, they are going to lock down and they're going to start working on crypto legislation, which is the only thing that I've cared about, quite honestly. And the potential of tokenization Now it's weird. Now it's talking about the potential. Wasn't it just we're doing tokenization? Now we're talking about potential. But of course, that's from the way that Blockhead sees it on the podcast. Eric shares insights on Ripple's strategic acquisitions, the company's commitment to addressing real-world problems through strategic initiative. And of course, we are not going to listen to all this, but you can see the sort of the different subjects they get into, which is kind of nice the way they break that down there. You can kind of see what they're doing, but you can listen to the podcast. If anyone's interested in listening to it, I'll just pop it right in the chat if you're interested in kind of listening to it. It is 28 minutes long, so I popped that in the chat. You guys can go and break that down. But again, Ripple on the move, talking about stuff. Eric Van Mittenberg. And then this one here, Jeff, you kind of teased this in the open. This is the Ripple X, and one of LATAM, which is Latin America, largest tokenization efforts to date. Mercado Bitcoin, which is bringing over 200 million in real-world assets on-chain to the XRP Ledger, including fixed income and equity income instruments. The assets will connect to a network trusted by more than 70 central banks and financial institutions. That's a lot. 70
That is
central
a lot.
banks. Good Lord, that's a lot. And of course, they put out a press on that, which is kind of cool. That's Sao Paulo, Brazil. That's where my son-in-law is from. The leading digital asset platform in Latin America announced plans to tokenize more than 200 million in permissioned real-world assets, including the fixed income instruments. So it's interesting, Jeff. It seems like an odd initiative in a sense that we would think that when we think about tokenized real-world assets, we tend to think of other things other than like government type stuff.
Right. It's not always government stuff.
Yeah, like we think about tokenizing like real estate, or maybe like other different things. A growing market, trillions in potential, according to a 25 report by Ripple and Boston Consulting Group. Tokenization of real world assets projected to grow approximately 0.6 trillion in 25 to nearly 19 trillion by 2033. Is that the same number we've been hearing, Jeff, or does that seem different to you? I thought it was going to be bigger than that.
I thought it was a much bigger number.
Maybe they're adjusting. It is 2033, so they're got a little bit of time there. It's like 8 years.
No,
7
I think it's gonna be. I mean, I've seen anywhere from 3 trillion up to 20 trillion. I think so. It's fairly spot on in terms of what they're projecting. As far as the overall tokenization, but could go a lot further. It's not all going to be connected to the XRPL. Obviously, this is on a much bigger scale, the overall ecosystem. So a lot of interesting things getting ready to happen. Overall, question, Chip, whether or not this is going to happen here in the U.S. When are we going to see pro crypto legislation allowing for all these things? But let's get into the rest of this article.
Yeah, so it says, as a recognized leader in the space, Mercado's already among the top 5 tokenizers of private credit assets. The company has already tokenized more than 1 billion, that's a lot, in real-world assets while maintaining a zero default rate. Also impressive. Mercado also connects to the ecosystem to one of the most widely adopted networks, more than 70 central banks, regulators, major financial institutions around the world. The Ripple is a key contributor to the XRPL, focused on bringing high-quality regulated assets on chain and supporting Mercado's integration into the XRPL. Mercado's also worked with Ripple by using Ripple payments to facilitate cross-border treasury flows between Brazil and Portugal. And on the listing of RLUSD, the enterprise-grade USD-denominated stablecoin on its exchange, Mercado was the first client of the solution in the country, gaining the access to a faster, more secure, and cost-efficient. So it's nice that they're opening these initiatives. They've got a partner down there, which is great. Brazil's a huge market. Brazil's already using it to facilitate faster cross-border payments between Brazil and Portugal. That's fantastic to hear. And across Latin America, we're seeing institutions exploring tokenization, how it can improve access to efficiencies in the financial markets, said Silvio Pagado, managing directors of LATAM at Ripple. Mercado's Bitcoin integration with XRPL allows, or at least shows, how public blockchain infrastructure is being trusted by institutions, becoming a reliable foundation for bringing regulated financial products to market. It's the kind of infrastructure the XRPL offers, but now it's possible you can actually bring those on-chain assets in a way that meets more institutional expectations when it comes to cost, speed, and of course, compliance. And that's really what it comes down to. You talk a little bit more about the ledger speed and efficiency, about the security. And they go on, give some more stats there. Ripple's levers the XRPL for over a decade to power the cross-border payments, digital asset custody, and enterprise. There's a lot of stuff shaking up, and these latest acquisitions by Ripple tell me, and I think if we get down to a point, Jeff, I think what we have to see is we have to see some kind of a custodial institutional grade for consumers.
Yeah,
Because we don't really
that's
have
gonna be
that. Now,
important.
if the banks would just go partner, like the big banks in the US, but even banks around the world would go ahead and partner with, and I don't know if it would be like one of Ripple's, you know, custody solutions, 'cause I think it's really made or at least it was set forth to do institution, not necessarily consumer. But if you had that consumer grade that was on that same level, and
Mhm.
banks would license that software, shit, you just go to your bank and you're like, hey, press a button. This is how banks can make money too. They could become their own exchange. They could partner with exchanges. And when someone could go right into their bank, they could go buy it. Boom, they have it. It's in the custodial wallet. There's no, then now you've got people behind it that can actually do something when you do a transfer or you move it somewhere, whether you move it to cold storage or wherever, at least it is protected. And I'd like to see in that big ass bill that they're working on now next for the big crypto bill, big beautiful crypto bill, we'll call it, if it is indeed beautiful. But it'd be nice, Jeff, is if they had something in there to FDIC insured as well.
Right.
Because if you were to get custody and insurance, man, you want to talk about adoption? Adoption would be simple. And through the banks, people would just simply go in there, they click on the crypto tab, and they just purchase it. Be done. If you want to move it to cold storage, great, move it to cold storage. If you want to keep it with your bank, but you got to imagine new people coming in can't handle all the steps necessary to get freaked out. Well, you just simply go to one of the exchange. First, you go to exchange, then you connect to it, then you send money there, and then you buy it. And then what do you do? Then you got to buy some kind of a cold storage wallet. Then you do this and you transfer it there. But what if you want it on a wallet to buy something? Well, then you got to transfer to your Zaman wallet. Well, how many do you need on there? Well, you need at least this much. People, you lose them at, you know, they want to click a button. They want to own crypto. They want to log in. They want to see their crypto, and they want to know that it's protected. They want to know that it's insured, and that's all they want to know. That's it.
Mhm.
Same with their money. They want to know that it's insured, right?
Simple.
FDIC insures up to $250,000, and if they were to step up and then start insuring crypto, I'm telling you, man, that's the mass. That's what's missing in mass adoption. The ease of use. What do you think about that, Jeff? You think that's accurate? That's the missing piece for the mass adoption?
I think that's a major part of it. Yeah, and we've talked about it so much that to achieve true mass adoption, everything has to be simplified. You and I had a conversation about that on a project that in order to promote it, the people have to understand it. If you can't simplify it into bullet points that are clear, at the end of the day, people don't really care about your technology. They don't care so much about the company. What they care about is, can I understand it and what is it going to do for me? We're talking about kind of sales 101. And from that perspective, in order to gain mainstream mass adoption, things are going to have to come into play. And people have to understand it, and they want to have easy access to it. If you don't have easy access to it and they don't understand it, not going to happen. And I think we're even seeing that, like, with, if anything, at this point, the most recognized asset is Bitcoin. People might be trying to figure out how to hold it, but even there's major levels of complexity, which is why if you want to hold Bitcoin, the easiest path for the majority of the population is direct to an ETF, right? So you go direct to an ETF, and I think we're going to see that similarly in terms of being able to hold asset. Where can we go to get it? Chip now may or may not, be a pivot, to this part of the conversation, but there's a lot of discourse on, on X about the excitement over Ripple getting into banking. You know what? I don't know why you guys are so surprised about that. It was definitely the next, part of progression that Ripple would get into banking, but people on X were acting like it was like, "Oh my god, this is the coming of the Messiah. Ripple's getting into banking. Oh my god, I can't believe it." Well, why couldn't you believe it? It's all they've been talking about for, all these years is that they're progressing to work with banks and financial institutions. The next level is to figure out to make sure, because we're going through regulatory clarity, what's the next level of certainty? You have to get banking license. The things that they're doing has to be on the, had to be the next progression. It kills me that there's influencers within the XRP community, so to speak, that hyped it up and FOMO'd it like that was some like big revelation. I mean, what are we, stupid? I mean, don't
We're
it
not
just
stupid,
kills.
Jeff.
We're not. No, I'm just saying, but I felt
You
belittled,
said you
but I
said
felt
we.
belittled. No, I'm just saying
I know,
facetious
I
kind of.
know, I know. Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand.
but I'm just saying I felt kind of belittled when I saw some of these influencers, get so hype over it. I'm like, why? Why are we getting so, it's great. Hey, they're moving into banking. Yes, you know what? That's the definite next part of the progression. They have to get into banking. They have to start doing those types of things. But guess what? It's going to be RLUSD, and it has to do with working with financial institutions. It has to be, working with big banks. There has to be, a tie into that. At the end of the day, Chip, you and I have always talked about which one's coming first. Is it financial institutions buying crypto? Are banks going to buy crypto exchanges, or are crypto focused tech companies going to get into banking? Which one's coming first? Because it's going to happen both ways. Now, from a mainstream adoption perspective, I believe that banks getting into crypto is going to be a lot easier for mainstream adoption than for crypto to start getting into banking. However, if a huge crypto uh, tech company decides that, hey, we're going to buy some major bank and they're going to acquire all those assets, you're
Mhm.
still going to have to keep people on their mainstream platform. So let's say, I don't, not going to happen, but let's say Ripple decides that, all of a sudden they bought Fidelity. You think that all of a sudden the Fidelity platform is going to go 100% crypto native? No, it's going to be, hey, maybe eventually it changes its name, like, it's happened, a multitude of times with others,
Mhm.
companies that happen. They stay in their mainstream platform, right? Nothing really changes except for a logo. But we need easy access, for mainstream. It's killing me, when I keep seeing this FOMO in the space. And didn't anybody learn anything
No,
with the collapse of Link to and all, or the issues with Link to and all these other, the FOMO? People aren't learning anything. It's killing me, Chip. It's
look,
absolutely killing me.
Jeff. First of all, you inadvertently started a new rumor that
I know.
that Ripple.
No,
I heard
they
one
are
of the. I
not
heard one of
buying
the. I
Fidelity.
heard one of the influencers talk about that Ripple is interested in purchasing Fidelity. No, that was an example. People,
There
please
was a yes, we did not
don't take it
say
out of
that.
context. And
But someone said talked about Ripple buying Uphold as a possibility, but that's a crypto exchange.
yeah, they don't
They're
really need. They
making
don't,
major access, purchases. Good for their
there's a
business.
DEX already on the XRPL. They don't need to exchange. I mean, they could buy it. They could offer exchange, but Hi guys, good morning. Enjoying the early delicious Badass Yetis coffee.
There we
Beautiful. I
go.
threw that in there.
Oh
And then
yes,
this, Vincent said, "What do you guys think about the rumor of fixed price XRP been circulating?" Well, here's what I did. I went ahead and searched for that, and what did I find? I find some of the most outrageous, egregious, so-called, they call themselves influencers. I don't know if they call them this, but not jobs, I call them basically. But you got this per rumor explain IMF theory setting a fixed price. First of all, it's a digital asset. Nobody's setting a fixed price. Okay. And after Jeff, after what you just said,
hmm
people are in XRP price is going to be set to 1K after a 10K, 1,000 to 10,000 by the IMF. Well,
hmm
first of all, the IMF is a useless organization. It's a communist
correct.
organization. It's an organization that needs to be blown up, and it's a useless organization. Okay, bunch of people who get funding from other countries who think they're mandating or talking about stuff, and they have zero sovereignty in the U.S. as they do in any other country. Completely useless trash organization. Let's start off with that. Number two, anytime now I get this guy's all the stuff. Someone always says Chan Stein grabber. I get stuff sent by this guy all the time. Like, Chip, what do you think of this? You lost me at Chad Steingrab. Okay, this guy is one of the guys. Now he'll put stuff up that's normal, like, hey, Mercado Bitcoin, like, you know, just reporting on what happened. Okay, great, that's fine. But a lot of times people send me this outrageous stuff or these theories, and it's great and it's fun to speculate. But come on, people, use your head a little bit. Stop there. Then what else do we have here? Oh, this guy Smoke. This is the other one. XRP and XLM will most likely have a set fiat value in future to enable money transfers. No, this is another one. So if you see these names, just avoid them like the plague. Okay, they're just fixed value in terms of fiat currencies. It means nothing. Fixed value is the value of a digital asset, but these people are losing it. Document. Let me take a screenshot that you're never going to see. It's likely that they will accept money transfers that have been enabled via blockchains. For example, Ripple or Stellar wallets that have a fixed value in terms of fiat. Yeah, what that means is that, of course, it will have a fixed value based on what the value of the digital asset is at the time. This is not a fixed value attached. Well, a bunch of people, let's see, at the IMF, the very smart people at the IMF, Jeff, are sitting behind doing this a lot, indicating their thinking, and they've just chosen a 1,500 fixed price for XRP. First of all, nobody sets the price. Ripple doesn't set the price. You don't set the price, Jeff. I don't. Nobody, and you out there do not set the price. I mean, no. Reading comprehension is a problem in this country. I've noticed it a lot. I've noticed it, like, people have a very difficult time, and I don't know if it's they don't have a good understanding. I actually see this with younger people, where they read something but they don't understand what they read. So I don't know if it's if that comprehension thing starts in the schools and they go through life and they miss it, but they're unable to do basic reasoning and logic applied to. I don't know if they don't have a good grasp of the language, of the vocabulary. But Jeff, I see it all the time. So I appreciate bringing that up, Vincent, because it's good to talk about things like this. I think what people are misunderstanding is the actual base language there. What fixed price means. And if you start putting the IMF in any conversation, you've lost me, man. I have nothing to do with that. Osmond says, quick question. How much does Bitcoin need to be worth before people realize that crypto is the real deal? Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, when it broke 1,000, I thought people would start taking notice. When it broke 10,000, when it broke 50,000, when it broke 100,000, 110,000, I think what's going on there, Osmond, is that people don't understand to this day. Like, if I tell people that even have been in crypto, I go, like, you know, you don't have to buy a Bitcoin. You can buy sats. What is a sat? Well, it's a fractionalized Bitcoin. You can take $20 a week for your paycheck and buy Bitcoin. I can. Like, it's lost on a lot of people. People look at this price and they go, it's out of reach for most people. Anything over 100,000, anything over $700. People think, I don't have $700 right now to buy a Bitcoin. I don't have 110,000. Great. If you purchase it and it goes up 8%, you're going to get 8% on whatever you own, whatever percentage of Bitcoin you own. So I feel like sometimes this is lost, and it feels such a big number that it's out of reach for most people. And you got the Sailors of the world, Michael Saylor, who's doubling down and tripling down and buying in, wants more and more and more and more and more. Because these are the people that recognize that this is going to go to 2, 3, 4, 500,000, even $1 million. When? I don't know. But this is a good point you're bringing up, Osmond. Like, what number is high enough? And I think the higher it goes, the more frightening it becomes for most people in the world, because they're looking at it going like, hey, you know, it's at some point this number eclipses what they make as a salary. So they think like, well, great that Bitcoin's 300,000. I'll never own it. Rather than, you know, maybe they'll go to an altcoin where they feel like they can own an altcoin. But your statement is spot on. Like, where does it need to be in the people recognize that, hey, crypto's real. It went from a couple $100, went from a couple dollars. And we just saw this one wallet that was not touched in like 10, 12 years that moved $1 billion in Bitcoin. Now, Jeff, I'm crazy enough pulling my hair out like when I go move something, because I'm like, double check it, look at the thing, look at the address, is the address right? You know, you do all that. Can you imagine moving $1 billion in Bitcoin? Like, imagine what I mean. It's probably custodial stuff. It's probably multi-sig. It's probably a lot of stuff behind it, but still. But that you're bringing a good point up, Osman. I appreciate that. That's a good point that you're talking. We got Melbourne in the house. Got our Aussie. There we go. What's going on, Fabio? We're going to talk a little bit about Zhao DAO in a little bit. If you guys don't know, hopefully we'll have Fabio on here talking about the Zhao DAO. And we have a little bit of that coming up. What's going on? And Zhao DAO is a pretty exciting project, which I'm very hyped about. It's one of the projects on the XRPL that really benefits the community, and we'll talk a little bit about that coming up. So we will get into all of that. Also, Miguel Castillo says that what people don't understand, that this is a trade-off with simplicity, easy access, it's central control. I personally will never trust banks. And that's fine. You know, you don't have to trust the bank. You know, banks may go away just because if you look at the younger people, the people in their 20s and 30s don't really use banks the same way other people have come to use them. So what I'm saying is, and I'm not saying banks is the reason. I'm not pushing banks here, but I'm saying for mass adoption, and for what most people trust their bank, especially if it's FDIC insured. They have $200,000 sitting in there. The bank collapses, they get their $200,000 back. You lose your cold storage wallet. You lose your key. You're done.
Screwed.
You're done. You cry about it. You talk about it at Thanksgiving dinners every year. I had 200,000. I don't know. I put it somewhere and I lost it. Okay, so people are still heavily influenced by customer support. They want to talk to somebody. They want to get on their mobile. They want to dial somebody up, and they want to be able to have a conversation with them. Like, hey, you know, people that talk about cold storage wallets. Well, Stefan Tomas, let's talk about him. One of the more brilliant guys, former chief tech officer at Ripple. At this stage, he probably lost over $400 million in Bitcoin. Why? Because he put on a cold storage wallet many years ago. He had the key written down somewhere, and he had the kind of wallet that he had 10 shots at it, and then it bricked. So it's been bricked. There's been a company working on recovering it that will split half of that with him for 1.5 years, trying to break the code of the password that he set, that he does no longer remember. This is what terrifies a lot of people, because you could be mad at somebody losing something. You can be mad at an exchange going down. You can be mad at a lot of things. What will kill you is knowing that you made a mistake that cost you hundreds, if not millions, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. That is called regret, and that's a tough pill to swallow. And that's why I bring up the whole idea of banks, because if there is FDIC insured and people can go in there, there's also another way for banks to make money. You know, would people be paying more, the same as an exchange, or maybe a little more for the ease of use? I think they would be. And I think that a lot more people would get into crypto. We'd have more people, you know, going back to Osmond's point, we'd have a lot more people purchasing it. But that's just my opinion. And I understand that a lot of people don't trust banks, you know, and that's perfectly fine, right, Jeff? I don't know where you stand on that whole scenario, but I'm just talking for masses. I think it's still a pretty solid way to go, man.
Banks, you're talking about again?
Well, I'm talking. Osman was bringing up the whole point that he doesn't trust banks. He doesn't trust them. He understands simplicity asset, but it's central control. Well, here's the thing.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Central control, Jeff, is what people want, because if something goes wrong, they call somebody. If something goes wrong, I just got into it, and you lost $1 million that your family was relying on you, then go punch yourself in the face, or go out the easy way. Whatever you want to do, it's that right there is going to be tough to live with, which is why people still like centralized control. Just the way it is.
People want centralized control, right? People at the end of the day don't want DeFi in their financial space in terms of where they're holding their money. I think from a mainstream perspective, they want to trust something. They want to trust that like you said, this is the most important part of customer service, whether it's going to be AI, 5 years from now or 3 years from now, or a human being. People want to pick up the phone and they want to talk to somebody when they have an issue. It crosses all age spectrums. I don't care how old you are. At the end of the day, not only do they want to have human contact, you have to have human contact. It's a business. if you're putting your money someplace and you're transacting someplace and you're doing something, if you have to go get, a mortgage, or you have to, go get, I don't know, whatever you're getting, going into the car dealership and you're getting financing on your car, there has to be some form of human element. The idea is simplification of process so that it can easily be completed. So you don't need to go through, 1,000 signatures with zero transparency. The idea of blockchain and the whole and the whole narrative then is going to be simplification, cutting out the fat, cutting out a bunch of the middlemen, decreasing the cost of transaction. It's not about cutting out all the people, and you can't have everybody around the world relying on, oh, I lost my wallet, your money's gone. People are still not going to know how to do it. They're still going to have to call somebody. It amazes me that, here we have a lot of smart people, in our chats. Got brilliant people in here. The commentary is always spot on. And so think about, you're probably representing 2% of the entire world in terms of the other 98% don't have the same level of thought process or intelligence. That's just probably the reality. And so, when we think about that, that means that 98% of the population have to have their hands held going through it. Think about, these next generations of kids that don't really know how to use a computer. They know how to access the computer. They know how to go online to do stuff. Beyond that, they don't even know how to use Excel. They don't know how to
They don't.
there's a lot of they don't know how to use the technology properly. They're just because they're spoon fed the technology. They're not creating the technology. So again, those that are creating it are smaller. But think about our generations. We grew up with nothing, and we entered into the phase of so we had to figure out every step of the process. And yet, there's still, Chip. How many people within our generations still don't know how to use stuff? And they're not figuring
Mind
out the new
blowing.
technology. So it goes all generations. I don't care who they are, from 0 to 100 at this point. People need to have their hands held. Doesn't matter. You don't have to trust them. And that's what Zober's saying. Bottom line, government uh, doesn't think or trust that people are capable of managing their own life or money. And
Well,
that's probably to a point, but not, I mean, if in our country here, I mean, that's the whole idea. It's like, hey, here, you earn your own money and, good luck. Once you enter a socialized system, you have social welfare, you got all the different things that in socialism and communism, they definitely don't trust that their people are capable of managing any of their affairs. Again, blockchain simplification of process, mainstream, not ready to be independent. I just don't believe it. If someone can show me and teach me otherwise, that 100% of the population, that more than 2% of the population is ready to be self sufficient, I don't believe,
right.
and I'll never buy it.
Look who's back
Until
from
it's shown to me.
Joe Buddy was originally gonna boycott today, but he's
Right,
back. He says many will trust crypto when the banks begin to hold
100%.
it. My
Yes,
mom, for example, yeah, and this is like the masses, right?
100%.
Especially if they can get FDIC something in this next bill.
That's
Jim D
also
saying
important.
something's going on with crypto exchanges because suddenly KuCoin um, wants KYC to avoid what is it? To avoid fees. Suddenly, Uphold wants a new FASCI scans and more questions asked. Yeah, well, it's the regulations are coming. And these exchanges are going to be under a lot of scrutiny. They're probably
They
trying to
have
get
to.
ahead of the ball. Now,
Yep.
KuCoin is weird because KuCoin's outside the U.S., I believe. So that's
Yes.
interesting that because you're starting to see regulation come down. They don't want to lose their business model. They don't want to be put out of business. And you could fly under the radar for a while. But I'm surprised about KuCoin. I'm not sure where that's based, but I think that's outside of the what do you call it the U.S. I believe. Where's KuCoin based? I should probably. Am I wrong about that? Because I remember I've used KuCoin before. Let me see where they're based. I just do a simple search here. There are. It's in the Seychelles. Okay, gotcha. There you go. Yeah, I thought they were offshore of the U.S., so they are. And again, that's really wild. That's where they're headquartered. I don't know. Originally founded in China in 2017, later moved to Singapore due to stricter regulations, and eventually established headquarters in the Seychelles. The KuCoin shows over 30 million users. So yeah, they're probably, you can see that they've already made moves.
Yeah.
Started in China, went to
them.
Singapore. Singapore was like the first to enact crypto regs. So then they moved to Seychelles. And now maybe they're probably coming up with, again, they're probably looking for a place to hide and kind of chill. And then you see regulations that are coming. So if we look into the Seychelles and regulations, we'll probably see that they're coming there too. And look, at some point, you gotta be compliant. Otherwise, look who else we have in here. We have Mo Meta's in here. What's up, Scott? What's up?
Chip, spot on. We got it. These companies, these tech companies, have to get into check because there will be regulatory requirements that they have to meet. That was one of my expos. I should, drag it up, or that, there was a whole commentary on things that were going. I'm like, for some reason, people in the crypto space, many times coming from some of the tech companies, but I think mostly, there's some influencers out there in the space, the way they talk about things. I think we're operating in a vacuum. Like, the real world doesn't exist around us. Like, all this stuff, nobody's being observant to like real law. There's case law and there's laws on the books you pertaining to how companies operate, how financial institutions operate, the good and the bad, which is why, when we look exactly at, backtracking a little bit to the whole link to issue, it's a major issue, right? And it's getting in front of the DOJ and anyone who was talking in and around it. There wasn't a vacuum operating around it. All these companies will have to get into check. Everybody has to follow the rules of the road. Otherwise, you have anarchy, and we don't live in anarchy. It's been the Wild West, but people are testing the confines of the space a little bit. The biggest case, which is why Chip and I followed it so closely, and all you guys were so passionate about it also, was SEC v. Ripple. That was like, that case was symbolic of and represented, all other, crypto companies in the US, because if Ripple would have lost, and it would have been so detrimental to how everything else unfolded. And we saw a ruling outcome on XRP, the only asset that's had a court ruling to say, hey, no, this was not a security, which sets the tone. But yet we still don't know if crypto assets are securities or not, based on law that's on the books right now, based on, there's no regulatory clarity specifically over any assets. We've heard them talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a great store of value, but again, any of these others, where do we stand? They have to have rules of the road. We have to have more pro crypto legislation codified into law. It has to happen. It probably isn't going to happen in 25. Maybe it will. We still have a little bit of time left, but most likely it's going to happen in 2026 if these things get pushed through. We just saw a massive bill that got signed yesterday, probably one of the most important bills that's going to set the tone for a lot of things moving forward. And that was the big, beautiful bill. There was a lot of things that were packed into that were very, very important that had to be taken care of way before crypto legislation, and so now those are set. Now the focus, can shift a little bit. That's my thought on it, Chip.
No, it's really good, and I'm seeing too. This is interesting. In Cheyenne, Wyoming, in 1982, we were talking about cryptocurrency in math class. McCormick Jr., the week the girl committed suicide in the bathroom, Richard Jenke killed his dad. Remembered. Well, he probably would talk about the concept of a digital currency more so than, because it wasn't called crypto, and it wasn't until much later. But it's interesting. It's Wyoming, because Wyoming's been very, very on the edge when it comes to with crypto as well. So that's interesting. That there's two other ones that I wanted to get to. Jim D says, mark my words here, that once the cut over to crypto becomes the global banking cartel to get buy-in from nations that will impose transaction and nation tax share. Not in the US. I mean, this is the way the rest of the world's going. Yeah, they'll just volunteer. What they're called is they basically put their head on the railroad track, and they're like, please come and run it over. We want to just separate our heads from our bodies because we don't want to think anymore. And I'm just shocked at how many world leaders just totally sell out their citizens on a daily basis. It's
because
insane.
of that. Yeah, exactly.
Money. Yeah, because of
It's
that.
all about money, Chip. And this is
Hey,
Christian.
Christian, what's up, dude? It's been a long time, man.
It's been a real long time.
Me and Christian go back. We go back a long way. This is an OG right here. Go ahead and read that, Jeff.
So here we have: don't hate the player, hate the game. Ignorance is bliss. That's right. I like that starting. There will always be banks, taxes, and oversight. It's on us to learn how to navigate those very things. Agreed. There will always be, and
smart.
It's just a matter of who's going to be in charge of it and the technology behind it. Can we get complete transparency of taxes? That's coming from blockchain. Right now, there's no transparency. You want a perfect ledger, blockchain. You want transparency in banking fees and charges, blockchain. You want true oversight of, let's say, the Fed. You want to audit of the Fed, blockchain. That's once that's implemented and you have transparency and you have a very clear-cut path to an audit that's quick, where you're not relying on the fat. There's always going to be someone who has to do it and control it and who's responsible for it. But at the end of the day, it's the technology that's going to be implemented, that should be implemented, that brings us to a path of being in a better spot.
Yeah, that's well said, Jeff. And Christian, good to see you. I haven't talked to Christian in a long time. It's been a while.
Awesome.
Hope you're well. Justin says, what does that even mean? Well, nobody really knows. That's the whole point. Justin, nobody really knows. Justin's like, what does it all mean? That's what I say on a daily basis. Like, what does it all mean, man? Like, make sense. Make it make sense. Like, there has to be some of it. I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to, but Orders comes and says, Google it. Just Google it, man. There you go. Also, the Ripple banks in Wyoming. Yeah, very, very true. So it's interesting to know that, very forward thinking. Want to do a little bit of a shift here too. I wanted to talk a little bit about Zhao DAO. You guys may have heard of Zhao DAO, but it's a community project that's coming to the XRPL, but it's also something that's been talked about for quite a long time. I know that there's a Zhao DAO over in Asia. It's not a Zhao DAO, it's a DAO that's XRPL based. But again, so I want to talk a little bit about this. And also want to talk about full disclosure. I am a marketing advisor, so I do advise the folks on the projects. It's an advisory. There's a few of us that are on the advisory team, and the reason I'm joined it and excited about it is because I believe that this, for a long time, that this is something that was going to be really necessary, especially for the community itself. So I wanted to first off start off
before we play the video. Might have to do another song here because we're at the bottom of the hour. I know we're going to be rolling out of here at the top of the hour. So let me just
right in half here. Okay,
I'm going to cut it right in half.
I'm going to do that. I'm doing that intro again. So
you're going to have to do that intro again. So I want everyone to pay close attention. Think about what Chip, introduced on the Zhao DAO and the community. That it's going to be very important for the community at large. But we got to take this quick break here. So let me throw this in. From the blue tray. Word of the day. Yeti. You got your Zaman wallet ready. Why? 'Cause this is gonna be epic. It's time. Time to claim your legendary Blue Tribe Yeti of the clan. Frostbeard's his name. Thorvald. Let's go! On the chain, badass yetis, born for battle, made for legend. Claim yours or be forgotten. Badass Yetis on the chain, on the chain. Yeah, another banger on the chain. I was getting into those tribal war drums. That was great. I like that. I like that a lot. That was good. I like it a lot. Zober says coffee break. Dude, coffee break. That's the best part of the show. It's the song, man. That's right. We're putting the Yetis in there. We've got 11 in the entries right now, which is fantastic. Right. So there you go. This is a banger. Beautiful. Great. Right. So, dude, let me make this. Let me start off again. I want to do a transition again. Now that we've heard the song,
but I wanted to transition into Zhao DAO, a project that I'm really excited about. I'm going to play this video, and the video is kind of a little bit of fun, but kind of like it'll be the precursor to kind of what we're going to chat a little bit about, Jeff and I. We're going to talk a little bit about the project, the founders, and like how it works. So here we go. Let's go ahead and play this video.
Zhao DAO?
I'm in 3 DAOs already.
Yeah.
One's a cult,
Yeah.
one's a meme, and I'm hoping this one's the adult. Ever heard of Zhao DAO?
Sounds like a new TikTok dance, am I right?
Ever heard of Zhao DAO?
Is that the new Coachella lineup? Ever heard of Zhao DAO?
I think my baby is dowing right now.
Nope. It's what happens when Web3 actually grows up.
Ever heard of Zhao DAO?
I thought DAO was that Chinese place on Main that shut down in 2023.
Here, every vote counts. Every proposal's on chain. And every member has a say.
We pitched a remittance app for unbanked farmers. Now my crypto wallet smells like fertilizer and purpose.
No token pumps, no rug pulls, just real grants for real builders on the XRPL.
I heard someone funded a DeFi garden. Like with real tomatoes.
It's Web3 without the cringe, mostly. It's like if a DAO's got therapy, found purpose, and started funding real stuff with real utility. Not companies, VCs, or influencers. Just us. And there's one token that matters for the Zhao DAO. It's called XRP.
Zhao DAO. We're not waiting for the future. We're building it together. Join the movement. Get on the waitlist at zhaodao.io. Zhao DAO, empowering collaboration, fueling innovation.
Like that, catchy. Yeah, also full disclosure, I did create that video. So I created the video with the team. We workshopped it. We put that, and I actually executed on the video side of it. Everything in that is AI generated. If you thought that it was AI generated, AI's come a long way. Even the music was AI generated. Same software that Jeff uses to make the Badass Yeti song. But I wanted to put that out. Yeah, it pokes a little bit of fun and kind of sets it a little bit up. But a lot of DAOs will release a token. Just to be really clear, there is no token. The token's called XRP. So a lot of people have kind of confused us. So like, well, wait a minute, where's the token? There is no token. This is another big, huge choice that I am really behind because, Jeff, you know, it's always a fine line when you do a token type of thing, and having the token be connected to XRP, which he obviously says in that video, is a big deal. But I think that hang on a second. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Let me go click on this. Here we go. But I want to get a little bit into this here. What is going on? Before presenting a screen. Now it's asking me stuff. Remove other media. Oh, do you have something on the media side of it?
I don't. No, you do. You have the video going.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, there we go. So let's talk a little bit about this. So so let's talk about the founders here. So Fabio Marzella and Santiago Valles, you guys may know those names. Been around the XRPL community for quite a long time. And Jeff, you and I were pretty fortunate to have had the opportunity to meet Fabio in person last year when we co-emceed the WOI in at the Gold Coast in Australia. And Fabio was the managing director for that. So that's how we got to know Fabio. And, you know, this guy is phenomenal. And also the team that put together the WI, I still think it's one of the better conferences I've ever attended. It's just well run. Everything was well thought out. What were your thoughts on it? It was a good conference, no?
WI was one of the best. You know, we've obviously talked about it a lot.
We have.
I'd love to see it come back again with you know, previous leadership, but we haven't seen what the current leadership is going to do with the WI yet. So excited to see if they're going to, you know, come back and, you know, put another banger show on. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, Chip, this Zhao DAO really seems to be something that is going to resonate for the community.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and as you guys start learning more about it, maybe something you want to take a closer look at. But Fabio sits on the board of the XRPL Foundation, where he helps shape the roadmap, guides formatting, funding decisions, and supports open source community-led development. He has got over 20 years of leadership. And to think about it, he's got a really solid kind of a resume to be in this space. He's worked across fintech, manufacturing, and global trade. He navigated both startups and large enterprises. He's also led product strategy, built high-performing teams, and driven many major negotiations in Australia, Italy, and Germany. So this is somebody that's got a lot of great background for this. He's all about building big, inclusive systems that seamlessly bring together, what we call traditional finance and then decentralized technology together. And so if he's not in build mode, he's into Jeff, and you'll really appreciate this. He loves racing cars, kind of what's awesome. Equivalent to our NASCAR.
Nice.
He's a big fisherman guy, deep sea fishing, and but the cars. I mean, you can imagine that just for the adrenaline side of it. And table tennis, Jeff, which I know you're also into table tennis too. I played that at your house. We've had a little bit of fun with that. So you guys can join the wait list right now. What I'm going to ask everyone to do right now is go ahead and follow. So I've just put the X handle, because this is how you're going to find out more stuff going on. And then I will also put in, if you guys are interested to join, I should recommend you at least get get on the wait list to find out more of what it's about. And then also let's talk a little bit about Santiago. Now, Santiago I've known for a long time in the community because he's always put out, I didn't know him personally, but I knew him from afar just because of some of the just because of what he's done or the pieces. Anytime you put something out on X, I'd be like, oh, okay, this is brilliant. Whether it was the spelling, inaccuracies or anything to do with the XRPL. That's how I came to know him. But he's also the manager and co-founder of the Zhao DAO. He's manager. So he's also led Web3 projects such as Flare Futures, Nike Crypto Kicks, NCAA NFTs, helping build major brands and platforms navigate blockchain integration. Now, you may not have known this, but he's a nuclear engineer by background. Now it all starts making sense, Jeff, to me. So he now focuses on blockchain infrastructures at Block Digital Corp. He's been a pivotal part of the XRP community and an active investor since 2017. So he's an OG, just like a lot of us are. He also holds a certificate in blockchain economics from the Wharton School. And if you know anything about Wharton Business School at the University of Pennsylvania, that is also where Trump graduated and also where the Trump kids have gone too. A lot of great prominent business people have been there. Yeah, a lot of smart people. I know my daughter wants to go to Wharton. He has been a pivotal part of the, as I read that. So Santiago appeared on Real Vision Crypto with Raul Paul. So he also probably calls being a husband and dad to three amazing girls his favorite role. So he's also into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He vibes to 90s hip hop, Jeff. This is my favorite era of hip hop.
There you go.
I could not be without Tribe Called Quest. There's so much great.
Right. I think the 90s was the best.
I mean, Jeff, you and I are lockstep on that. So we've already connected to that bit right there. So it'll be launching soon. It's going to be, I'm going to go ahead, ZhaoDao.io. You guys can just go put your email in there. You're not going to get spam. You're just going to get updates when it's coming up. And what I'm going to do is, mouse is like, there we go. So you guys can go there. And then I want to talk a little bit about how to join, what it means. So here's a thread. So here's kind of how it works. So the membership is activated for $10 US and for a one-time $10 fee. Of course, it's payable in XRP. You'll receive an exclusive Zhao DAO member NFT on the XRP Ledger. And if this NFT, you look at it as your sort of proof of membership. This is your badge of, to participate in the Zhao DAO ecosystem. There's no renewals, there's no tiers, just one flat rate for everybody. And again, you're unlocking full membership access. So once your payment's confirmed, you become an official member of Zhao DAO. It includes full voting rights, access to services, a meaningful stake in the community's future. And the membership gives you the ability to participate in governance and share in any economic benefits of the Zhao DAO. So one NFT, one flat fee, and there's a whole world of basically community-powered opportunity. Welcome to Zhao DAO, it says. So there you go.
And so, Chip, the idea behind a DAO is basically centered on the community voting and the opportunity for you to participate in voting.
Well, it is, and it stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization, and there have been quite a bunch of successful ones. As a matter of fact, the DAOs out there, I just came across some interesting facts that there's some DAOs out there that have more money in them than a lot of the exchanges. So they've become actually bigger and morphed them. They were very there's a couple big ones on Ethereum, but the whole idea is that when it comes to XRPL, and you can voice on X, you can voice here, and I mean, Ripple goes ahead, has a grant program. There's other organizations that have grant programs and sort of fund projects with real world utility. This right here, and again, it's early stages. So the idea is that you get a vote, and it also, we'll get into how that works too. You know, where Will can come in and get more votes. Well, that's also been thought through as well. But the whole idea, Jeff, is that there's community voting, so you have a say in what goes on inside of the XRPL, like sort of a community. And so what you get is that, you know, kind of what you're talking about, you get a voice that counts. You can help shape the future of Zhao DAO through governance votes. And so to keep it fair, no single member can hold more than 0.05% of total voting power. So this eliminates the possibility of whales. Someone comes in and says, well, I own 5 million XRP, and I'm going to have no, it's all sort of weighted so that it's fair across the board. Also, each year you can share in some profits. You can get a slice of the DAO's net profit and loss. There's a lot of transparency that also comes with DAOs. There's no cap. No one can receive more than 0.001 of the total distribution, keeping things balanced and community focused. You can also, so part of it's joining something that gives you a say in what happens. There's also protections built in. Again, a lot of legalese has been behind this. As a registered Wyoming, here we see a Wyoming LLC, Zhao DAO offers a limited liability to all members, so your risk never goes beyond your membership. This is key, and this is set up properly. I've looked into it, and the amount of work that went into this and thought process that went into this up front took a lot of thinking through. And having that protection, because if you look out there, you can find DAOs that did not think of this and did not really protect it. That's why it is in Wyoming, and that's why you're basically protected. And so when you join Zhao DAO, you're stepping into a space where your participation pays off. Here we talk about it on you know, people voice their opinion. This actually gives you a real say on kind of sort of what happens.
Yeah. So Chip, something that people ask on X, is there a token?
Jeff, there is no token. That's a good question, but you're right. You're right, because you've probably seen it too. Yeah, there is no token. It is a token called XRP, but a lot of DAOs come out with their own token, and that's not the focus of this. The focus of this, there already is a token. It's called XRP, and the focus is the XRPL. But thanks for bringing that up, Jeff. So every year, the Zhao DAO will count up everything that's been earned, subtract the cost of doing business. Think of things like building, the marketing, the operations, you know, the not so fun things like taxes. Yes, taxes are involved. And so what's left at the end of all that is called your net profit. And that is the pool that can be shared or reinvested to make the DAO even stronger. So once that number is known, it comes down to a decision, and the community calls the shots. So you're actually one figuring out what it's going to look like. Members vote on whether to share the profits or put them back into the growing DAO, making it bigger and better. So if profit sharing is approved, here's how it works. They take a snapshot every month of how much XRP is in your wallet that holds your membership NFT. Now, keep in mind that the wallet that holds the NFT and the XRP that's in that wallet is important, because that's where the snapshot happens. And at the end of the year, they'll go ahead and average out those snapshots to get a clear picture of what the XRP balance looks like. And then the profits are divided up. So based on what that average share of holdings are throughout the year, because suppose you're taking this wallet and you're moving some XRP around, and whatever that is, it's going to be the average share held throughout the year. So maybe January through June, you didn't hold as much, but then you move some more into there for the balance of the year of July through December. That's calculated as a percentage of the total membership share of the profit pool. And so to really keep it fair, there's no cap. So no one member can get too large a piece of the pie, no matter how much XRP is held. That way, everybody has a real shot at earning something, and power stays decentralized. That's how to keep it balanced, community driven, totally not ruled by whales.
No stress.
And no stress. If the DAO ever takes a loss, you're not on the hook. Okay, so your risk stops at your membership. And again, this was important to do all the legal stuff behind the scenes to make sure that it's set up properly. Because a lot of, if you can look out there, you can see some DAO horror stories that were not set up properly, and then they had to deal with it later, and that's never a good way to travel. And the beauty of a limited liability, that's what comes down to, is the fact that you're protected. It's a pass-through entity, so it never hurts to give your tax advisor a quick call if you're curious about how the details work. Any thoughts on this, Jeff?
I think this is probably one of the more, important parts, is the legal framework of it. Knowing that, the legal framework is really critical. Profit sharing, I like the idea that it's giving people an opportunity to vote in development of the community. And you and I talked about, something like, from Ripple, who are they were investing X amount in developers to help develop on the XRPL, but then that number is distributed over a long period of time. And so one thing that we hear outspoken about continuously is the lack of focus on being able to help developers. You have a project like this where you get community involvement, there's potential raising of funds within the DAO, and you might be able to reference some of that, but there's money available to then help promote development on the XRPL. Now all of a sudden you have a community growing. People talk about the Solana community. People have referenced the Ethereum Foundation, that there was always a group behind raising of funds to help further development in the space. And so this kind of puts all of that narrative into a very easy to understand solution, essentially.
Yeah, well said. And again, that's why I'm excited about it, because there's been a lot of conversations about this for a long time, but it's great, and especially getting behind the two founders here, who I feel like have put a lot of effort into thinking this through, right down to the legal side of it and how it works. And again, a lot of this will be shaped. So you say, well, what about this, Chip? How does this work? Well, a lot of it will be shaped by you. So things will come up. Somebody submits an idea that makes it to what we call like a proposal, and then that gets voted on. So the whole idea is that the way it looks right now, it can vastly shift. So as a member of Zhao DAO, you get to vote on these key proposals, and it kind of comes down to shaping what that community looks like. And the voting power really comes down to how much XRP you hold in a wallet, again, along with that membership NFT, and it's a cap limit. So the whole idea is keeping everything fair. This way, smaller holders have a real voice and governance stays decentralized and balanced. And here in the US, we can almost kind of distill that down to the Electoral College, that again, it protects the smaller voices here. And this is kind of a way to keep everyone's voice means something here. And so kind of here's what it works. The snapshots taken of all member wallets holding that NFT before each vote. Then they go ahead and check how much XRP you're holding. They compare it across all members. And if it's needed, the voting power is capped to avoid any wallet having too much influence. So you get your voting power is based on your XRP balance, 1 vote for every 10 XRP in your wallet. After that, non-transferable voting tokens, you can't trade them, are minted on the XRP EVM sidechain to reflect your share. And the best part, there's a cap on how much voting power any single wallet can have. Even if you hold a lot of XRP, you won't be able to dominate 1 vote. And again, it keeps it from the DAO from turning into a whale party, which nobody wants, and make sure that decisions stay in the hands of the entire community, which is key. So 1 vote for every 10 XRP, and it is capped. So you get to a point of where, you don't have a whale coming in that owns 1 million XRP that has that NFT in the wallet. Transferring your membership, again, this is something that I feel a lot was put behind this to keep it fair. Your Zhao DAO membership is more than just that NFT. It's your place within the actual community. So if you want to keep it, they want to keep it fair and in line with Wyoming DAO laws. And to do this, the memberships cannot be freely sold or transferred like a regular assets. Now, if you do want to transfer it, there's a process that includes things like member approval or giving the chance to take it first. It's all about protecting the DAO and making sure. And again, this is the legal framework that's being followed here, that it can be put up if somebody wants it or whatever. And so there is a process in place, but it has to follow the process to make it Wyoming compliant where it's registered. And so they say,
and
we're
that's
building
really
some
important right there, because you
huge.
can get to a point, let's say there's a cutoff of membership availability, and now people want to start trading their membership, giving access to membership, boosting the valuation of the membership, and then it changes the dynamics. And if it doesn't adhere to the regulatory structure, again, why regulatory structure is important. You can't just say you're selling, not related to this, but as a comparative example, you can't just say, I own, as a company, we have X number of shares in a private entity, and we're going to determine how much we want to sell those shares to the community for. And we're going to sell them at like an ad hoc auction, so to speak, and just declare a 60% markup of the valuation of a specific share. Again,
Yeah,
there's rules on the books for stuff like that. I like to see this as falling within good regulatory compliance in terms of being that it's registered in Wyoming, good choice. But then to stay within the legal framework to keep everybody in the community, protected. And it starts with something like this, the structure, and how do you transfer your membership and things like that. Really important.
Yeah, again, that legal framework, if you think about Wyoming always being forward thinking, especially, it's funny, we saw the earlier post about Wyoming. You think about the idea of the compliance piece of it, they've thought it through, right? So they put a lot of time and effort into why you just don't want to be transferring membership and why they created a process. Also, when it comes down to wallet verification, the membership in Zhao DAO tied to the wallet, specifically the one holding the official membership NFT. This NFT proves you're part of the community and you give access. So it's going to do a check not only on the XRP, but it's also going to check to see if that NFT is there, because that's like your pass, right? That's your official, hey, I'm in the Zhao DAO. We're not randomly checking a wallet. If that wallet doesn't have that NFT or the NFT's moved, then it's not going to care. Now, if you do lose access to your wallet, no worries, there is a fix. If your original wallet becomes inaccessible, you can request a new membership NFT under a different wallet. Just keep in mind that the voting power will only reflect the XRP held in the new wallet. So if you make a mistake, something happens, you lose your key, your wallet, something happens, right? It's compromised. It's only going to matter what the new wallet is. It didn't matter if you had 100,000 in the old wallet. But again, that's going to capped anyway, so it's become a non-issue. And the original wallet still holds all your rights to governance and profits. But if you lost access to the private keys, any future rewards like end of the year payouts linked to that wallet might be out of reach.
So how many memberships can you have? One membership per wallet?
Well, I think it's based on the wallet itself, right? But it doesn't really do any good to open up multiple wallets because again, it's capped. So it's not going to be like, take 5 wallets, 5 NFTs, pay $50, so there's no real advantage to doing that because the voting's capped anyway. So if you lose your wallet, there's a whole process to go through. But again, this keeps it fair to pretty much everyone. And again, you can go to Zhao DAO, at Zhao DAO LLC on X, and you can read more about it. Also on Facebook and LinkedIn. So
here's a question, Chip, a question from the King. He said, can we talk about the midnight airdrop? The midnight airdrop is a little confusing.
There's no airdrop. So I just talked about it. There's no airdrop. So I'm not sure which midnight airdrop. I'm not sure what the midnight airdrop is. I think you're referring to something else. Something called the midnight airdrop. That there is no airdrop with Zhao DAO. Because I've seen that coming up too. People are like, well, what about the airdrop? There's no airdrops. That's the other part of this. So I don't know what the midnight airdrop is. That might be some other benefit for some other project.
Maybe they're talking about something else.
Yeah, something else. Financial transparency and treasury, keeping it clear, fair, and community driven. At Zhao DAO, we believe in transparency, but without overwhelming you with spreadsheets, members get access to high-level financial info like EBITDA, net profits. If you want a deeper dive, members can vote to unlock detailed reports, including budgets, salaries, contractor payments, treasury activity, how the company assets are being managed. Again, that's the whole idea of a DAO is you get to vote and decide how far you want it to go. All proposals, votes, approvals, and rejections are recorded and shared with the entire community. They'll live forever on decentralized storage. If you think IPFS style, again, if you're familiar with NFTs, you know that pretty well. They're linked on chain, so you can always find them. No secrets, no surprises. The books are open. The community-powered clarity. That's how we roll at the Zhao DAO. So here's how the treasury works. The Zhao DAO treasury runs on a mix of manager oversight and community voting. Small expenses, the manager can handle that to keep the LLC going smoothly. Things like day-to-day operations. Bigger investments or spending, that's where the community steps in, and anything beyond the limits set forth in the operating agreement needs approval from the majority of its members. This setup gives the best of both worlds, flexibility to move when needed, and the power for members to shape how it's used. So whether it's proposing an investment, if it's funding a new project, launching a community initiative, you've got to say and how the Zhao DAO is grown and how the XRPL is pushed forward. Every member isn't just watching the mission unfold. They're actually helping to fund it, shape it, move it forward. It's your DAO, your voice, your money. We make sure it all stays transparent and accountable. So
I like that last statement. It's your DAO, your community. Say that again. Read that part
it's
again.
your DAO, your voice, your money. So you decide how it stays. And again, it's all transparent, accountable, and in the hands of the community of the DAO itself. And I will post it once again. Here we go. There's the ZhaoDAO.io. And if you choose to participate, when it is available, it'll be $10 one-time fee to participate. And again, let's suppose the DAO says like, hey, this is great, but maybe we want to have the membership renew every year. And so that could be a proposal that somebody puts up and says, well, I like the idea of having this, but why don't we say, and again, I'm just making this up, but it could be someone says, well, why don't we do this once a year? And then you pay this $10 fee. It's set forth a certain way, but people can write a new proposal and decide how it could potentially go. And that's just one example.
Talked about that yesterday. I think that's a great example because, I'm on board with that. I would petition to have this an annual renewal, to have people re-up.
Right in the first proposal.
I'm writing the first proposal. So I'm going to start petitioning to get backers on this when this goes live. It's going to be proposal number 1. To turn that $10 into an annual renewal, to have a re-injection of cash flow annually into the DAO, and it also holds people interest in coming back also, because you do a one-time investment, people, their focus might, peter off a little bit. We want, people that are going to be actively involved, I think is important, and to show that level of commitment, that's a good way to do it. So how do we petition this? Like, we want to say, hey, well, let's put this up for a vote. There has to be an opportunity to get in front of the community, right? So
it hasn't launched yet, Jeff. Let's give it a shot before it launches. But the idea is that's forthcoming. For right now, I will go ahead and post the actual URL. You can click on. I was just putting the thing, but for right now, we basically go here. It's coming. You basically go here, put your email in, and join the wait list. And then when it opens up, you'll get more details on how to go ahead and register.
And register.
Yeah, that's how it works.
And the first proposed amendment is to change the $10.
Well, that's
one time to annual.
First, you have to join, Jeff. Then you can. Once you join, then you can maybe go ahead and make that known to go ahead and. I'm
going to start running polls. So if you guys are on board.
So then. No, it's an interesting idea too. But again, the whole idea of a DAO is that the way it's structured and the way it goes forward, you can see that you have a chance to, bubble up to like a proposal and you get to vote on. Now, if you vote and they put that up for a vote, and people are like, no, we like the one-time fee. Okay, done. There you go. It's a one-time fee. And it could be a project that maybe is looking for some injection. It could be, there's going to be some other things rolling out, other components of the Zhao DAO that will also help the stability of influx of capital. So that's coming too. And as that rolls out, you'll learn more about that little piece of it too. And again, somebody else might propose something like, what I'd like to add to the Zhao DAO. I'd like to look at that. See, Fabio's already looking forward to it. This is great, Jeff.
Do I have to write it in white paper format? Like, can I present my case in video format?
Well, Jeff, those rules will be rolled out as they sort of come, as we get closer to it. But again, it's an exciting project, which is why I'm excited to assist with it, and it's something that I've looked forward to. It's been talked about for a long time, and I find that the two founders involved have put so much time and effort into it, especially on the legal side and making sure you're protected, but it's set up properly. That's why you can't transfer it. That's why there are rules of the road. Send me a fax. Send a fax, Jeff.
Done. Well, it's
Jeff, you might
be
have
the
a
most
fax machine.
secure. I do have a fax machine, and it's the most secure way of sending it. So can I handwrite it, or do I have to type it? Might have to type it on an old school typewriter.
What you do is you write it across a bunch of sticky notes, and then you tape those
on a piece of paper.
Those paper on 8.5 by 11s.
Fax that.
Or A4s
I'll
if you're
draw
in Europe,
arrows.
and then you feed it through the fax machine, and then it gets stuck, and then it stops the fax machine.
Oh my god, that's funny.
The thing got ripped, but anyway, that's how it works.
Send them a telex.
There you go. Send it to Morse code. Morse code could potentially work.
Don't worry.
I don't know. I think maybe that. We'll have to vote on that.
I'll page you when I'll page you when I fax it to you.
I guess I'm getting a pager right there. It says hello.
It says hello.
I got to turn it sideways, but it says hello. If you guys know, you know. If you're old enough to know. But that's sort of how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, XRP Bags has a video at midnight. Okay, yeah, we'll check that out. I don't know. I don't know much about it, to be honest with you. Jim D says his fax is busted by a digital phone service. Have to fax over the internet. Yeah, it's so funny. It's like now you can.
True.
Some people still require faxes, like insurance companies.
It's crazy.
Some banks. It's bizarro, but now you have to do it on the internet because of the digital. It's weird.
Right. We're not using email for this. This is going to be the most secure methodology of transferring the white paper.
But it's not secret though. It's the whole idea. It's not like you're transferring somebody's social security number. True. You're like something that has to be locked down. Just open data. It's going to be on you're probably going to write it. You're probably going to write a post of it anyway. So, but anyway, that's a little bit about Zhao DAO. As more stuff comes forward, again, I recommend you at least go ahead and sign up for the join list, the wait list there. You join the wait list, and then you can find out more details. Wait list, yeah.
Be waitlisted. Join the wait list. ZhaoDao.io.
ZhaoDao.io.
And if we're lucky, Chip, both Fabio and will agree to come on the show, and Santiago. So we get Fabio and Santiago come on the show to talk about the project. It'll be great to hear about, and we just talked about it, but it would be great to learn who's behind the project. Let's get to know you guys. Let's talk about car racing. Let's talk about your passion for 90s hip hop and table tennis, and we'll get into all the details. That's what we like to do on the show
anyway. The personal side of the people.
That's the personal side. People want to know. They want to know who you are, who's behind the project, because that's what it's all about, and then people get even more passionate, so because there's a lot to it. It's a community. So let's understand who's putting the community together.
Yeah, and you notice it's not any handles like Crypto Boy or Crypto Buddy. What it's real people, using real names who have a real background, traceable. This matters. Who found something? It matters, right? And you got two amazing people behind this project, which is another huge, and that have been around the community. They're not somebody just joined last week or trying to come into the XRP, L community and take advantage of people that have been around for a while.
I was been saying we didn't answer the most important question.
Well, I didn't see
that he asked, but I didn't see the most important question.
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
I found it here. I found it. I scrolled up. I meant to star it. Important that you see. If you would have said the most important question, we just said important question. So we thought it was important, but it wasn't. Is it only available to U.S. residents? Or can people around the world participate?
Yeah, it's open to everybody. Now, again, it might depend on your country and the regulation around a DAO, but I believe at this moment in time, it's available everywhere.
Yep.
So I think it really depends on, and if Fabio's still here, he can answer that question, but I believe it's available anywhere. And Fabio's based in Australia. I know that Yeah, and also too, if you think about it, Santiago is based in the U.S., so Florida's in the house from
Florida.
Boy. There you go.
That's right. Everyone
So
give a
there you
quick
have it.
shout out what country you're tuning in from. That, to me, country, city, state, whatever you guys want. Meantime, Chip, how many Yetis do we have?
We have exactly 16, so you have a really good shot at winning this.
16. Now, I know Joe Buddy wants to put his Yeti in the hat, so I'm just going to roll out this song while we get ready to do the drawing, and then we can come back and get things going. I know you're short on time. You got to run out, and so I want to make sure we get this rolling forward. So let me play this real quick. Hang on.
Go ahead, man.
It's only a minute. I was able to cut this down to 1:07, if you can believe
That's
that.
pretty solid.
It's amazing.
I know we were getting in the 2-minute range before, but
yeah, almost. Yeah, that was one was almost 3.
guys,
But here,
type in
let me-
Yeti, and we will get going on this.
here we
17
go.
now.
17. Here we go.
From the blue tribe. Word of the day. Yeti. You got your Zaman wallet ready. Why? 'Cause this is gonna be epic. It's time. Time to claim your legendary Blue Tribe Yeti of the clan. Frostbeard's his name. Thorvald. Let's go! On the chain, badass yetis. Born for battle, made for legend. Claim yours or be forgotten. Badass Yetis on the chain. On the chain.
On the chain, badass Yetis.
Badass Yetis. All right,
For
guys, we're going to go for
battle,
the drawing.
made for legend.
You want to put the background music on there, Jeff? And we're going to go.
So here's a quick answer to the most important question of the day. Thank you, Osmond, for asking it. But the answer is worldwide availability. Maybe some government restrictions. So check in with your restrictive government. You know, maybe if you're in Canada or something. I know they're super restrictive in Canada. Maybe some government restriction on crypto, but not for the Zhao DAO. Look at that. So
Yeah, that's
Zhao
what I
DAO
said,
could be
basically.
free for everybody.
Depends on where you are, right? So if you have local restrictions, that could be.
But on
Thank
crypto.
you for that, Fabio.
But
Yeah.
restrictions on crypto, but not the
But
Zhao
maybe
DAO.
not a DAO. Maybe not a DAO. Correct.
On a DAO, you guys are good to go, it seems like.
Put that
So,
background info. Let's go.
oh, hang on. Hang on. Whoop. Wow, 16. Badass Yetis. Ready to roll it?
Go.
Osman, look at that. Big
Osman's
winner
the
of the day.
winner chicken dinner. Winner NFT dinner. There we go. All right.
On the
Oh, you
chain,
can turn
badass
You
Yetis.
can turn the Yeti song off there.
We can even turn it down.
He said, finally.
Finally.
Okay, let's get
big
that
winner.
Zaman wallet. And Osman, we also need to have your X handle too. But go ahead and did
We
that.
need both.
Jeff's saying it's rigged. Come on, Jeff Sutton says it's rigged. Ryan says, "What up, Crypto
was
Nation?"
rigged.
Coming at the last minute. Yeah,
was rigged for
Grass says
Osman.
run. The
Come
biggest
on.
winner here, Charles says rigged.
Charles has won like 50 times.
The biggest winner in on the chain history claims it's rigged. Congrats, Osman. SoFlo says yes.
Justin said it stopped on him and then it moved
That's
on to
always-
Osman,
listen.
so it's rigged.
Yeah, I always hate that. It's like I wish it would just go bop, 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 bop. But you know, it's like when you spin that big wheel and it goes, it always goes bump, click, click,
Yep.
and you think you won it. It goes one more click, and you're like, oh, you know, you lose everything. So
Look at that. This is Osman's first ever Yeti.
that
The
is
first
awesome,
one.
man. That's great.
And
Well, now that you own one, you can go ahead and purchase 5 more. Build an army. Build an army, baby. Blue and white tribe. Go to
Now, Joe.
XRP.cafe. Yeah.
Now, Joe said he was going to play on his own terms and didn't play because he hasn't
Well, that's
won.
good. You didn't win. Don't worry,
No.
dude.
Next
Always
time.
go in
Next
there.
time.
The Virgin Yeti holder. Beautiful. That's awesome.
Let me
Rises,
show you.
congrats. It's beautiful.
Yeah, let me show you what you won.
Please do, Jeff.
Let me see if I can
Go
share
ahead
my
and do
screen.
that.
Let me show you. Look at this. Look at this badass Yeti right here. This is one of the Frostbeards. This is his name is Thorvald of the Frostbeards. Now check this guy out. If we go large, let me zoom back out. Look at that. Look at the detail on this guy.
The Frostbeards. Yeti.
Yes.
Let's go.
He's a
So
cool
we'll need
one.
your wallet
I like
and
the Frostbeards.
this is what Osmond said. He said, I said it earlier. The Thorwald was mine. And there
He
you
did
go.
say it. He did say it. That's
He
true.
said, it's mine. And you
say it's mine.
You have willed it into existence.
You have to manifest.
Vince
We're all
Scully says
about
he's late to class.
manifestation in the quantum field. You know, you can manifest things. You get into the quantum.
I've been
All this quantum
manifesting things
physics.
my entire life. Had a great fourth. Yep.
Been
Fourth
reading
was
a lot
awesome.
about quantum physics. It's very interesting.
Well, Jeff says Sutton says he's still sitting at a perfect 0 wins, record intact after hundreds of drawings. Don't worry, man. Everybody, it comes around. It comes around. I don't realize there's capital gains on the Yetis. True story. All right, let's do this, man. Let's go ahead.
Let's see. Hang on. Did we get it?
I don't know. I don't know if he put it
Didn't
forward
see
yet.
it come through yet. I'm looking on the. I'm going on to the YouTube, so I can see if
you put it there, yeah, because we don't see it here for some reason.
It's weird how we only see like half of it.
Yeah, it is odd for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
I don't see it on there. I'm looking on it right now. I do not see it.
All right, I'm looking.
And
then we also need your X. What's that?
Osmond's the top fans today are the king, and then we have Osmond number 2, and then we have Ray Run number 3.
Man,
it's cool how it puts the little symbol next to him. I like that.
Now, if StreamYard could incorporate all that stuff, that'd be badass.
Cool.
That'd be really badass. Trying to get into. Are you viewing on YouTube? And you're not seeing anything?
I am, but I don't see it. I don't see it here, so I don't know. I don't think he's put it up yet.
I'm getting.
Oh, he has. He has put it up.
Okay. All right. Give me a moment.
I do see it now. Sorry, it was
he
put it up right away. Unfortunately, that's how it works.
Both. Stay tuned. There it is. I see it.
Very cool.
And then make sure you put up your X handle as well.
We need your X handle too. Yep, we see it. We need your X handle.
All right, here we
X,
go.
formerly known as Twitter.
Here we go. Oh, you know what? It says invalid address. This has happened before. Invalid XRP address.
Copy it?
It might not be. I copied and pasted it. Starts with an R and ends with.
Wallet? Do you have XRP in that wallet? Anyway.
Osmond.
We're not going to redraw. King already wants a redraw. Anyway, Jeff, I got to bail.
Starts with a little R, ends with an A. We need you to verify on the XRP.cafe. If you can verify in the XRP.cafe, that would be amazing. In the meantime, going to connect with you on X. We might have to take it offline. I know we had this come up before where it says invalid because you hadn't authenticated the wallet address with the XRP cafe to allow us to do the transfer. And then if you connect it to the XRP cafe, it simplifies it. So just go to xrp.cafe, connect your Zaman wallet there. It'll ping you to authenticate, validate, whatever, make sure you swipe that, and then it confirms everything.
You also put the handle up there, so
I saw that too. Yeah. So I got that. We're going to get a post out to the big winner of the day, the biggest question of the day, and most important question, and big winner of the day. There we go. So, all right. I guess that's where we look at that. Jim D says exemplifies the need for professional wallet custodianship. See, yeah. Imagine, this is easy and fast. It should be even easier. We should be able to just be like, hey, just log in here. Boom, I'm going to transfer it to you.
Done.
There shouldn't be a complexity.
Yeah, exactly.
So
a lot of people have got the Zhao DAO. They say like, well, I don't want to stake my XRP. I'm like, well, you don't. That's good news. You don't move it. You don't do anything. There's nothing.
Another big question. There you go.
But those will all be dispelled. We'll go ahead. We'll get the bring on the founders, and then we'll go ahead and have a dialogue, and you guys can all your questions answered. But Jeff, I have to run, so I got to get going. I got to.
Let's wrap this up because
let's go then. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. There you go. Where's the? Here we go.
We'll be. Oh, good. Osmond said it's done now. Yep. But let me double check it. If not, I will ping you on the X. Let me put your destination is.
Okay, guys. We'll see you guys on the next one tomorrow night.
Hey, it's working this time. Hang on. 2 seconds.
I gotta go. I'm out.
2 seconds.
Chip out. You gotta end it. You gotta end it, Jeff.
Oh, there we go. That's how it goes. Now you guys are going to be stuck with me for the next hour because we're not really going to end it. We're going to transfer this bad boy over to Osman. There we go. Thank you for completing the most important of tasks so that we could transfer this Badass Yeti over to you. It is now Badass Yeti number 251 has now been verified, sent over to Osman. Big winner of the day, Osman. So glad that this is your first Badass Yeti that you have, which is awesome. Badass Yeti of the Blue Tribe. And we Saturday morning Jeff rant time. Let's go. Let's start ranting here. I will postpone till tomorrow, but we'll check you guys back out here Sunday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a lot of other great things to dig into and talk about. Great to see everybody here. Thank you, Fabio, for jumping in here, and we will set up some time to have both Fabio and Santiago on here live with us, so we can dig in and talk to him as well. Love the Jeff rants. Thank you. I love them as well. I love that you guys love them. So that's super important to me. All sorts of stuff to dig into and talk about. Let's rant a little bit tomorrow night. And we've been on for a little while here. So if there's anybody, tuning in from Texas, stay safe. A lot of bad things happening over there in Texas with the floods and all of that. So I want you guys to stay safe. And if there's any needs out there in Texas, I bet the community here will jump to help. So anyhow, it has been a pleasure. Check you guys out tomorrow night, Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here with us on the chain. And we will check you guys out tomorrow night. Looking for the out. There it is. I'm out of here. Check you guys out. Have a good weekend.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.